What's up everyone? This week I'm going to be showing you how to make my favorite campfire starter. I've taken on all the trips I've gone, whether it's backpacking, Quincy camping, car camping, canoeing, kayaking, you name it, it's with me if I'm going to have a fire. This is because it's long lasting, super easy to make, it puts out a lot of heat, a huge flame, so if you're working with wet wood or wet kindling, it gets it up really, really fast. Before we jump into that, and the reason I'm starting out here is, well, I'm just going to show you. Look at that. Go through really quick the items you're going to need to make these fire starters. So you're going to need a pot to boil water in. I would not grab your mom's pot and just go throw it on the stove and just start doing this. She'll be very upset with you. Just run down to the thrift store, pick it up. I got all my stuff for under 10 bucks, super cheap. So I got a little pot here that I boil water in. It doesn't need to be super big, just big enough that the pot you're going to melt your wax in fits right inside of it. So make sure that you go down to the thrift store, pick those two items up. In addition, I have a third pot that I actually make the fire starters in. I mix my wax and my sawdust in here, and the reason being is it gets really dirty inside, and then you also have another smaller pot, so while you're mixing and putting them together, you can keep that wax warm, so that way you're not getting patches of wax that don't have sawdust. In addition, I have, actually for my fire starters, you can do whatever you want. You can actually just do it by hand, form little balls, little bricks, whatever. I use a ice tray, and I picked this up from the dollar store. Again, you don't want to go grab your mom's out of the freezer. It gets really gross, and it makes fire starters that last about 20 minutes. So head down, pick that up. And lastly, you're gonna need some candles. So my mom had a bunch of leftover candles. Went over and she just gave them to me. So here's a couple candles we'll melt today to make fire starters, and then sawdust. For this fire starter, you want a finer powder sawdust. So this came from a 240 grit sandpaper. Really, you just want a lot of just very fine sawdust. You can go down to your local hardware store, wood shop, hardware store might not have it, and see if they have any sawdust you can just take off their hands for free. They may, if you explain what you're doing, they'll probably do it. You don't need much. This is a ton. This will make probably like 50, 60 fire starters, and it takes a while to use them all up. So, last thing is a tray. I use a tray. You can use paper towels, newspaper, something like that. Throw it down. Just kind of protects your countertop or whatever surface you're working on. It helps keep things organized. I don't get newspaper, so that's why I use a tray. Yeah. Get started. You're going to fill your pot up with a little bit of water. Not too much because you don't want it to overboil. And when you put that pot in there with the wax, it raises that level in boiling just to keep things from overflowing. So we'll go ahead and get that thing turned on, start it up, put it on its highest heat. You want it to boil as fast as it possibly can. Put your wax pot in there if you want already, and then while this is warming up, starting to get to the point of being in boil, you can prep our wax. So you're going to take your wax candle, whatever you have. Some people chop it, some people take potato peelers. I just typically take it and break it by hand. I do this over a tray because it can get pretty messy. If you take it, you break it. You just keep breaking it. Again, the smaller the pieces are, oh, come on. Well, yeah, the easier it is to, the faster it'll melt because you have that greater surface area. So let's get this wax melted up, and then we'll show you the next step. So the wax is all melted up, and now it's time to start mixing everything together. So we're going to take our sawdust here, and we're going to scoop it into the pot where we're going to do all our mixing. The amount of sawdust you put in there is about how much fire starter you're going to make. So I typically try to make quite a few of these just because it is a little bit of a process. So yeah, once you get the amount in there that you want, maybe one more, amount that you want in there, then now it's time to add in that wax. So to add in the wax, you got to be careful. These handles typically pretty hot. You pick up your wax, melted wax, pour some in there. Not all of it. Place that back there to keep it nice and cool. And then you start kind of whisking this together, kind of trying to mix it up. It might not have been enough wax. We'll see. Yeah, I think we're going to need all that wax. So we're going to take the rest of this. Ooh, that's warm. We're going to take the rest of this. Sorry, I didn't mean to reach across there. We're going to take the rest of this, pour it on in. Okay, and now this is where it gets interesting. Now you can take this pot, put it in there, like so, and now you can start mixing it up inside of this pot. And it'll keep that wax nice and melted. There you go. You're going to keep mixing it. This is going to need more sawdust probably, yeah. So this is too wet, as you can see. So what you want to do, you're going to grab more sawdust, toss it in there, probably about 2 spoonfuls, and you're going to mix it up. The goal is to get this into almost like a putty sort of, a wood fill putty type stuff. I don't know if you've ever used that. Okay, there you go. We're perfect now. You can see it's kind of mushy, but not quite. So now we're ready to put it inside of our container. So put it inside the container. You're going to have a pot like that, move the camera over, your pot like that. You can literally just scoop it out, place it in one of your holes, and just kind of shove it in there. It's not too warm. I definitely don't want to leave my finger in it. So just to be quicker on this, I'm going to pour them all in like so. Just get all that out of the pot. Once you've done that, kind of spread it out, push it into the capsules. Well, the smaller one right there. There you go. After that, it's time to stick it in the freezer. So we'll do that right now. We do the freezer so that way it cools off a little quicker. So we'll come over to our freezer here. Pop that bad boy in there, right next to that nice ice cream. And we'll let that go for a little bit. All right, guys, so now we got it, pulled it out of the freezer. Here it is. I'm just going to show you real quick. To get them out, I just take my knife, kind of break through some of that stuff, trying to get down to that edge. There you go. Pop it on out. As you can see, you get a nice little pyramid, so I'm going to put those off to the side. So at this point, you could be done, but what I like to do real quick before, really before saying I'm done, is I take a lighter and I get right here on the side, as you can see, and I just start it up a little bit on one of the corners. This is kind of to melt through some of that wax. That way when I'm out in the wilderness, it lights right up. So there you go. That's a fully complete campfire starter.